Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Help Is Here podcast, brought to you by the Beyond Compulsion Academy. Today we're going to be talking about short form content, so TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, and we definitely have quite a few opinions on the short form content. But this isn't just our opinions, I think more and more articles are now coming out, and there's been more and more studies. I was actually sent a link by a family member of mine where they'd collated about 70 something studies, and across those studies they basically researched the effect of short form content on over 100,000 people, and the studies were quite interesting, so we're going to discuss that a little bit today. Welcome on the podcast, Mary. So you read that article that I sent you today. How did you find reading it? Did it kind of surprise you in any way, or was it just kind of what you expected?
Well, they didn't really draw any conclusions, concrete conclusions. They kind of said that there's, more research to be done, et cetera. But, in my opinion, it's not rocket science. And we've been talking about this, ad nauseum with our guys, because the short form content reinforces addictive neural pathways. And toward the end of the article, they did say it's like the new addiction. And it's like, well, not so new, in my opinion, actually. We've been, like I say, we've been talking about it for a long time now. But yeah, they're also making the connection between the ADHD, which we've been talking about for a long time now as well. But then they also said that it leads to the stress and anxiety and depression. And yeah, I would agree with that, but they're not really, they didn't mention anything about pornography, which is, for us, there's that direct connection, because if the guys go using the short form content, they're just reinforcing those pathways, which are the same pathways that lead them to the porn use, right? So yeah, it's very, very important, and yeah, I'm certain it's doing damage to people's brains, I mean, that's where they're saying the research is inconclusive, but, shortening people's attention spans. And it said something about, it affects people's self-control, so, and to me, that pertains to the addiction, right? It's like, yeah, if you're constantly wired for, something that's 30 seconds long, that's got to affect your wiring in your brain, and yeah, creating monsters. I mean, we don't want to blame the kids, but we're creating an epidemic of ADHD, and it's not. And I like the way people blame it on vaccines and corn syrup, I mean, come on, man. It's like, yeah, no, that's not what it's about. It's about this short form content that we're allowing our kids to use on a regular basis, So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning, there will be people who have had ADHD, throughout their lifetime before the social media came about. And perhaps there are some people who discover that later in their life because there's more talk about it, there's more awareness of it. And, when they were maybe younger, they couldn't even point at something and go, oh yeah, my brain is different to others. So I think there is that side to it, but equally, it's kind of hard to argue with the fact that if so many people are consuming content which is created in this way where you're looking at it, for a few seconds, then you're clicking onto another video, then another video, then a next, and so on, and it's kind of taking you to all these different sort of areas of the world, completely different content, like from video to video. Sometimes it's even sexual. It's obviously that's going to impact your attention span, your focus, and how much of that compulsive desire you have. And I think the big thing for me is just realizing that engaging in these compulsive behaviors, whether it's porn or social media and scrolling and whatever compulsive behavior it is, really, it wires your brain to want to engage in that behavior again. So you do it once, you're going to want to do it again. And that's where the compulsion side of things really comes in. And that for me is the biggest consequence of choosing to be scrolling. It's knowing that if you scroll once, you're probably going to want to scroll again. And that's that kind of that feeling of being like distracted and just wanting more and finding it very hard to then focus on the task that you may be wanting to really focus on more than the social media.
Yeah, and it's interesting, because we've always talked about, do we do short form content for exposure, for so people can hear what we're talking about? And we've always decided, I mean, to this point, we've decided not to do it, right? And I think about going into YouTube for information that's valuable information, because there really is valuable information that we didn't have at our fingertips before, where we can figure out how to do something, to fix something, whatever, good information. But now it's all shorts. It's like if you ask YouTube how to solve a particular problem, you have to scroll through, 20 shorts to get to something that's actually some valuable information. That's not just a talking head in your face, trying with as many graphic, special effects as possible to get you to look at it. It's pretty crazy. And the other thing
Mm.
too is, in the article, everything, I'm really over all this adversarial positioning everybody has. They talk about, oh, well, we're the old man who's telling you to get off his lawn. What the hell does that have to do with anything, other than, well, maybe we look at the old man telling you to get off his lawn as, okay, there's a perspective of someone who thinks maybe this short form content and what it's doing to people's brains, and how it creates these people with these really low attention spans, and even just having a conversation with someone without them, people can't pay attention in just a conversation back and forth without them. They're going to show you something on their phone or whatever, and it rather than, okay, we can look at the value of the social media stuff, or the, short form content. I don't think has really much value at all, but there's there's some things to get a taste of, maybe maybe a band that you want to go see, right? You gotta go see a clip. Am I interested in paying $50 for a ticket to go see this band or whatever? But then there's, rather than pit people against each other, or we want this short form, and then there's the old man saying, get off my lawn. It's like, why not see a little bit of the value and perspective on each side, but the thing is, for us, the short form content it's very addictive, and we see it with the guys. They're to stop using the porn, and then they're, oh, well, I got into these reels, I got into the YouTube shorts, and then there they are, just reinforcing addicted neural pathways that does not serve them in any way. So we really recommend that they abstain from using that kind of thing during this process. And that helps them a
Yeah.
lot. So yeah.
100%. It was quite
Yeah.
interesting. Over the weekend, I was at my grandma's and she's 78, and she actually watches a lot of Facebook reels, which I find
Yep.
crazy. I'm like, what are you
Yeah.
doing, grandma? I couldn't really believe it. But it's the second
Yeah.
time in the last few months she's been talking about watching Facebook reels. And this time she was talking about how she was watching some monks. I think they're doing a trip across the United States where they're doing over 2,000 miles, and apparently each day they're kind of garnering more and more interest, and how people are joining them on this walk, and are coming out of
Yeah.
the houses and being part of this walk. And she finds it really, really wholesome and whatnot. And I was talking about this with my sister at the time as well. My sister is not in the best place, I don't think, with compulsivity in terms of social media. She last week, I don't think she'll mind me saying this. She basically deleted Instagram and then went back on Instagram and re-downloaded it and then deleted it again. And it's just come and join the Beyond Compulsion Academy. I'll teach you how to
Yeah.
stop for good if you want. Don't worry about that,
Yeah.
sis. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
But this goes to
it's just
show
in,
you can't, deleting it's not going to help, because you can just re-upload it,
yeah,
It's
of
like,
course.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And I remember actually, over the Christmas period, talking to my cousin, and she said she'd deleted it from her phone as well for a number of weeks, but she was struggling with it. So it's so pervasive. It's just everyone seems to be struggling now with social media. addiction. It's just
Yeah.
absolutely everywhere. And I think with our work anyway, we're so focused on going beyond compulsion. And I think there's a massive misconception when it comes to porn addiction and porn compulsion, because people will experience those really quite extreme sort of symptoms of being in a porn addiction, like the really intense shame and feeling like, oh God, like what's wrong with me? The out of alignment sort of sexual taste, like looking at stuff that kind of repels you, erectile dysfunction sometimes, feeling disconnected from other people. But it's interesting to me how closely linked, social media and short form content compulsion is to the porn addiction, and how you can actually see that the neural pathways are very, very similar. It's just like the
Yes.
porn content can just really be like an escalation and part of that tolerance cycle if you've got a social media addiction. So it's all
Yeah.
kind of part of the same thing. And I was pulling up my phone actually a minute ago because someone on the weekly check-in this week inside the Beyond Compulsion Academy was talking about procrastination and discomfort and other compulsions. And he said he's also struggled with other compulsions, mostly food, procrastination, non-productive intellectual debating with AI chats, and listening to a nerdy podcast. I listened to Tom and Mary talking about food compulsion as a replacement for porn and found myself totally there. This, brackets together with procrastination, is the one where I feel the most intense discomfort. But I just realized how beneficial that actually is. The reason he's talking about that being beneficial is that he's understanding that by experiencing really intense discomfort for the food compulsion, he's going to be making the biggest changes in his neural pathways. And then he said, it allows me to read my script clearly with an alert state of mind, which I do not have with porn that often, as the discomfort is hiding away and does not come as a visceral sensation. It also made me realize that all compulsions are the same. The addicted part of the mind, um, that all compulsions are the same addicted part of the mind. So basically, like when you're in an addiction, the addicted part of the mind is kind of the same thing across any compulsion, whether it is social
Yeah.
media or food or porn. It's like going to be the same sort of thought patterns, same sort of that intense kind of compulsive desire, that thinking. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Which one
And
did he
he was
say was the most clear about? I'm getting a little behind here. Which one did he
yeah. So
say?
I think he was saying he was more clear on the food stuff.
Yeah. And interesting too, he said, us talking about food as a replacement. We really want to clarify that. We're definitely not saying that you can replace, another addictive behavior with food. We're saying if you try to use food as a replacement for any addictive behavior, you're going to end up fat and back in your addiction. Food, it's the most underestimated because it's the most normalized, and it's the 100% detour to disaster if you don't deal with food compulsion when you're trying to stop another addictive behavior. That's interesting that he
Yeah,
said that one is so much more clear. Hmm. Okay. Yeah.
yeah. And then he just kind of finished by saying that by attacking one compulsion, the other ones get weaker. And I think that is
Yes.
so key because, yeah, if you're not really dealing with the social media compulsion and you're just scrolling, but you stop watching porn, well, the addictive part of the mind's not really going to get weaker because you're not giving yourself the opportunity to experience the
Yeah.
temporary discomfort and change those neural pathways. You're just substituting one for another. So then
Yeah.
the addictive part of the mind sort of just stays there. You're still thinking in these irrational ways. You're still
Yeah.
getting out of the discomfort and experiencing temporary relief over and over and over, still wiring your brain to have these desires to something else now. And then because of that, the desires for porn continue and continue, potentially even get stronger because, you're wiring your brain to this other compulsive behavior. And now, you're looking at sexual content in the short form content. Next thing
Yeah.
you really, really having these strong desires for pornography, and then you end up choosing to engage and you're right back in it.
That brings us full circle back to the short form content, right? I mean, it's probably, well, food, yeah, because of the gross misunderstanding about food compulsion, worldwide, at this point now. But short form content is probably the biggest detour to disaster that we see, right? Where people, because it's like so normal, everyone's on their phones, everyone's doing the, reels and the shorts and whatever. So that reinforcement of the addictive neural pathways, then you never experience a real breakthrough in the withdrawal process to see what it feels like when you actually experience rewiring in the brain by being with that discomfort and, not having to act on it, which is what we teach people to be able to do. So they
Mm.
don't experience that because they're just over there doing this. And then of course you're going to get like exhausted because you're in this constant state of compulsivity. Okay, maybe you're not doing porn for a while, right? But you never get that real tangible feeling of freedom because you're just giving it a little something else. So yeah,
Mm.
it's really important. Yeah, very important.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was on a train carriage home again at the weekends, coming back from Sheffield after seeing like family and my grandma and stuff. So
Yeah.
I was on this train and I was in like this tiny little carriage. It was like at the end of the train, and I literally counted because I was standing up because it was like all the seats were taken, and I counted around me. There was 12 other people, and I was standing up. Every single person there on some kind of technological device. And I think 11 of them were scrolling, and I counted one guy who had like headphones in, so I don't think he was scrolling. But I was just like, wow, like it's kind of crazy to see that, and
Yeah.
that's just kind of what's going on. And I remember like maybe 5 or 10 years ago, I'd watch like maybe a film or a TV series or like a YouTube clip, and it'd have that kind of picture, but it'd be in like Asia. And you'd see that in Asia, and I was like, "Whoa, that's kind of crazy." That like everyone's just locked into like their phone, but now
Yeah.
that's here as well, and it's just getting worse and worse. So
Here
I think
too.
this is the important thing: is that people have almost lost the ability, due to the way in which they're thinking about things, to just be okay without their attention going to
Yeah.
something outward of themselves. And I
Yeah.
remember before I met you, the only thing that really, really helped me with porn addiction, and don't get me wrong, it did not solve the problem. And, we've made that very clear on some other podcasts, and I did relapse even after doing it at times. But the only thing that I felt helped me at the time was doing like an hour meditation a day. And I think there was something to be said for just sitting in that discomfort. Now, the missing piece there was actually changing the actual thinking patterns as well, and dealing with the moment of compulsive desire, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely so much to be said for learning how to be okay with temporary discomfort. Meditation obviously isn't the be all and
Yeah.
end all. It's not
Yeah.
going to help you overcome a porn addiction. Yeah, go ahead.
Um, I feel like, you know, maybe like meditation is going to be useful for people. I mean, it's such a huge thing now. I mean, the NFL guys are like sitting on the sideline meditating between, offense and defense, and everyone's meditate, 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 right? So the thing is that's a valuable thing, maybe to balance some of the social media crap. But what's being, neglected is the fact that when you have addicted neural pathways from all the social media crap, then that needs to be dealt with. Meditation is not going to take that away. And I mean, I like
Mm,
that people are trying to focus on being present and being mindful and meditative and all this kind of stuff to maybe balance out some of this trend. I mean, this train track to hell we're on. But the neural pathways, once they're addicted in that way, you gotta deal with them directly. And then once you do that, yeah, let's all do more meditation, please. That'd be nice. And like
yeah.
people are so wired in a way that, I mean, like you were saying, like in social settings, it's like they don't have the attention span to participate with another person. And I notice that with people. People are like socially like inept and like awkward. They're not really able to sit and have a conversation like they used to, where they can
Mm,
just have even if you're with somebody and you have downtime where you're both just quiet, which is fine too, but that never happens. If you stop interacting with somebody, they're on the phone, right? So just like silence, right? Silence in with people being in the world together silently,
mm,
it's a lost art for sure.
yeah.
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 Yeah. Mhm.
I think in the past I used to find that very hard actually. I remember like car journeys on the way to football. I would often feel like I had to say something because I was so uncomfortable with my own mind in the car. So
Huh.
even if it wasn't going on my phone, I would always just like feel like I need to like ask a question or like say something because I just couldn't
Yeah.
deal with that silence. And I think
Mhm.
that was kind of one of the symptoms of being in addiction in hindsight. Not
Yeah.
really something I've thought about much until now, but that would definitely make sense. And yeah, I mean, the thing is, you could meditate for an hour, right? But if you go and spend like 1 minute afterwards on TikTok, well, you're going to be back feeling like your brain fried again. So it's just like
Yeah.
so much easier to just stop all the behaviors that are compulsive in your life, than try to do all this random shit for like hours, which takes up loads of time to try to deal with
Yeah.
the problem because, you know, the lack of peace of mind isn't from, I don't know, isn't innate. The lack of peace of mind's from, you know, wiring your brain in this way to just be consuming shit all the time. And
You
the
know,
other side of this is yeah, go ahead.
I had a Liberation Day call a couple days ago, and the person was struggling with a number of compulsions, uh, and we talked about the fact that all these years of working with people, no matter what the addiction is, the number one thing that they want to gain is peace of mind, you know, and you'd think that, especially like working with food compulsion, you would think that people would want weight loss, right? But it's not. It's peace of mind. And when people are exposed to this constant short form content, again coming full circle, there is no peace of mind. It's like, okay, what's the next thing? Okay, what's the next thing? Oh, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? It's just like a constant, yeah, no, not good stuff. Not good stuff for the little people's brains, it's what we're exposing them to, and we have to like get a grip on that somehow, but it is the older folks too. Like my mentor, Patricia, she's 80 something now, 82 or something like that, which is actually pretty cool. I mean, I don't want to diss on Patricia because she just literally sent me this video of her singing with this band. She's 82 years old and she's like on stage singing with this band. It's pretty cool. But she says to me, "Oh, I see. There's on when I'm on Facebook. There's all these little movies. These little movies." I'm like, "Those are reels, Patricia." And she tells me how she's gets addicted to them. It's like, yeah, it's too bad I mean, maybe for the old folks, it's not quite as bad because we don't have that much to do anyway or whatever. Um, but the young
Ah,
kids,
that's junkie thinking bullshit.
yeah,
it's
right,
not about
yeah.
it's not about not having a lack of time because the
Oh,
peace of mind's
Tom,
more
I've
valuable.
created
So
a
what you on
monster.
about?
No. Yeah, you're right. But you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like they have a brain that's developed in a certain way from the time there was that we didn't have cell phones. I was one of those holdouts that didn't even get a cell phone for a long time, you know what I mean? But we have a reference point, that is like not this constant on your phone, social media, whatever, where the young kids they're developing these neural pathways from the time they're two. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not. I mean, not a reason that people would use shorts because they're old or whatever, and they've got nothing better to do. But at least they have some sort of frame of reference that young kids don't. They're just coming into the world thinking this is what we do, and we have
Mm,
that article said 1 in 9 kids are being diagnosed ADHD. I would beg to differ with that. I bet it's way more than that. And not to mention all
mm,
the adults being diagnosed with ADHD. I told you that
yeah.
family that I know of compulsive eaters, they're all three diagnosed ADHD. So mom,
Right.
dad, and the
Yeah.
kid, all ADHD, all prescribed Adderall, and they're all
Mm,
obese. I think there's more
yeah.
than 1 in 9 kids. I mean, what we hear
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Right, let's wrap it up here then.
Okay.
Hopefully this can share a different perspective, on the short form content. I think the overall thing to take away is that if you're serious about overcoming porn addiction, then I would highly recommend being quite serious about your use of short form content. And when I say serious, I just mean, treat it as a problem,
Yeah.
and get to gain the benefits of like going beyond that as well. Because this is the thing.
Yeah.
It's not me and Mary saying like, oh, you
Yeah.
can't go on short form content, or like if you do, like, the world's over, or saying like, oh,
Yeah.
you've relapsed. Like, you can do what you want. It's your choice. But the truth is, from our experiences, those we work with who go on the short form content a lot, they find it a lot harder to stop watching the porn, because they don't really get that peace of mind and that rewiring of the brain. And so it's definitely
Yeah.
something to look out for here.
Yeah, exactly. And like, the woman in the article, she did mention something about like reasonable use at reasonable time. She didn't put it in our language or whatever, but and again, we're not the old man going, get off my lawn. We're not like, don't do social media. Social media is bad. Oh, we're none of that. It's like, we're saying that if you want to get free of compulsive behavior, especially something as destructive to your life as pornography, then this is going to really serve that purpose, to take a really
Yeah.
good close look at the effect that short form content has on the pathways in your brain in trying to accomplish freedom from addiction. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And for anyone who wants to learn the beyond compulsion method, how you'd want to frame it is not like, oh, Tom and Mary are going to try and make me stop,
Yeah.
social media as well. It's more like, if I join the beyond compulsion method, I'm going to get an education that's going to enable me to also stop these other behaviors, and therefore have way more confidence, way more time, way more energy, way more connection, like way more peace of mind. So that's the way
Yeah.
we would frame things. It's more about what you're getting from the education than like what you're giving up. Because the truth is, the only reason people keep going to the short form content and porn is because their brain is wired to have those cravings. And that kind of diminishes over time when you start to choose temporary discomfort and think through the choice rationally over and over and over, and you rewire your brain. So you're not really giving that much up, basically. Like, if you actually documented what you're giving up, you'd find like you're getting barely anything out of short form content. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Well, when I say barely anything, it's really just temporary relief most of the time.
All
Anyway. All right, cool. We'll wrap it up now. Cheers, guys. Hopefully this is useful, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Yeah.